Hey, so iPhone 14 Pro, this is the space black colorway in the 128 gigabyte model. Now, a couple of things to obviously look out for is the colorway doesn't seem as dark as it does in promotional images. So that's one, the new 48 megapixel sensor, photonic engine, the always on display, battery performance. So there's a couple of things to obviously look out for in this device. Another thing is obviously that it looks really similar to last year's 13 Pro and 13 Pro Max. The only difference really being that new dynamic island on the top of the device. But anyways, let's go ahead and unbox this guy. So got the little pull tabs here, like in all of Apple fashion. Let's get a little nice rip going. Just two little pull tabs, one on the top, one at the bottom. And this is probably the nicest part to this thing. Set that to the side. And I mean, it is darker, but I can see that it does look similar to the space gray. I guess honestly, to really know how this is, you're gonna have to go into a store and really look at how this colorway looks. Obviously, sometimes the lighting and stuff, sometimes how we do white balance on our cameras, that all affects it. But I think to get an accurate representation of this device, you're gonna have to walk into a store and really get a feel for this device. But one thing I do notice is the camera sensors. So the camera sensors do look slightly bigger. It's not a dramatic difference, I would say, but they do indeed look slightly bigger. Now, obviously this is the 13 Pro Max and this is the 14 Pro. But needless to say, these sensor sizes on these are a tad bit different. But yeah, Apple logos look kind of similar as well in terms of size, obviously. And then the railings actually do look darker. So that's one thing I do have to give to them. The railings on this side of the device do look darker. Now, this is actually, I am based off the US, so this is gonna be an eSIM device now. So no SIM card tray, unfortunately. So that's a whole nother thing that the US-based customer has to deal with now is eSIM. And that's another whole controversial thing that Apple has going on, but we're just gonna have to wait and see how all that plays out. But besides that, we have the USB-C to Lightning connector. Again, another thing that Apple hasn't updated in a while is the Lightning port. So a lot of people are waiting to see when Apple's going to adopt USB Type-C for data transfers. Besides that, we get some Apple stickers like we always do. No difference in color. And then we now get this neat little piece right here. It basically just states, hey, you no longer need a physical SIM card. Go ahead and activate your eSIM. So that's new. Everything else is similar. No charger. Again, super small box. And the box is not white. So there's that too. Yeah. So now getting to the device, we'll go ahead and unwrap this thing and get it booted up for the first time. Go, and right off the bat I can see it with the reflection. I can see the dynamic island. We'll go ahead and boot it up. That boots up, there we go, and we should see some sort of boot animation right now. Get that into frame to focus, and there we go. So dynamic island, here we go. And right off the bat, I mean, the AMOLED display does its job, the OLED display, sorry, does its job well. You can't really tell, but again, I am indoors. A lot of the issues are when you are outdoors. We have to wait and see how that also pans out. And then the 2000 nits of peak brightness on this guy. We'll have to wait and see if that's another thing that, we have issues with. But so far, I mean, it's a really similar, honestly, experience. In terms of obviously the unboxing and how the device feels in hand, how the device looks, it's really similar. I mean, it's really a really familiar look. The black, I guess, as you're turning the device around and kind of, just playing around with it, it's a bit darker. It is a bit darker. Again, to get an accurate representation of how this device is gonna look, I just recommend going into an Apple store or a carrier or a Best Buy that has a device like this and, checking out for yourself. But yeah, this is the iPhone 14 Pro.